السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. Today is April 12th and it's 2 p.m. As promised. I went live yesterday. Actually, no, it wasn't yesterday. It was today because it was after midnight. So it was today at 2 a.m. in order to benefit my listeners and subscribers who are overseas. And a few people joined in. They asked some questions and answers and things like that. If you guys, the purpose of this video, because I've gotten a lot of comments, questions on my videos recently in regards to the channel and other things like that. So what I wanted to do was create this live stream so that if you have any questions, any comments, etc. And basically, I do owe you guys an explanation as to why I haven't been posting on this channel in some time. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, this is going to be your forum. I'm going to be live roughly from now until 2:30 to maybe 2:45. So I'm going to give you guys half hour to 45 minutes. Before we begin with the Q&A, go ahead and share this stream with anybody that you think might be interested, etc. And one thing that I do owe you is the explanation of what's going on, why I haven't been posting lately on the channel. When I started this channel, one thing that I wanted to, by the way, keep your comments on the right-hand side. I'm not going to ignore them. I am going to definitely get around to them. But first, I just need to get some things cleared up. Again, let's going back to the channel itself. When I started this channel, the only purpose of the channel was to give some beginners / initial pointers and tips to beginners of reciters of the Quran. Specifically, the idea was that I couldn't find any detailed channel or any detailed instructions for English speakers on learning how to recite the Quran. Problem was, there were videos, but there were few and far in between, and a lot of them were either in Arabic or in Urdu, and they were not very beneficial to English speakers, which is why I created this channel. When I created the channel, I only started uploading some beginner videos, and I had the intention of only going up to the minimum / basic of how to learn to recite the Quran. So I was going to cover Qaida Nuraniya, and I was going to cover Makharaj al-Huruf and other things like that, and then I was going to finish the channel because that was the intention. However, it turned out the channel grew to a level that I did not expect. Currently, we're at 16,000 subscribers, and they were growing every day. And basically, there have been a lot of requests to keep the content coming. The reason for all this prior talk is that I still owe you an explanation why I haven't posted lately. The reason is that about a year and a half ago, I switched my jobs. And basically what happened as a result of that switch was that I had to retrain myself in information technology. It's a unfortunate reality of IT that you have to retrain yourself every few years. But basically, I went back to almost ground zero. I was in an entirely different branch of IT, and now I'm an entirely different branch of IT, and I have to learn from basically ground zero, from scratch almost. I'm still taking a bunch of courses and still doing a lot of learning in order to stay current in my job. In my previous job, because I had a lot of experience with it and I had a lot of technical know-how on it, at least my evenings belonged to me, which is why I could post for you guys in the evenings. I could dedicate my evenings. So for almost, I think I'm going to say 8 to 9 months, all I did in the afternoons was dedicate myself to the channel. I created the videos, I created the exercise videos, I created the lectures, I created the PowerPoint presentations, I created the Qaida Nuraniya pictures, the scans, etc. And I provided that for you guys. But since I changed and switched that job, what happened was my evenings have not been mine. the reason alhamdulillah, during the time that I did have free, I took advantage and I created the channel. Alhamdulillah, the channel became very popular. But since that time, I have not had time in the afternoons to dedicate to my channel, and I don't like doing things willy-nilly. If I can't dedicate a decent chunk of time, a good chunk of time to the channel, then I'm not gonna, because this is not knowledge that should be taken lightly. It deserves. This is why you will find that my videos are actually a lot longer than most other YouTube videos on similar subjects. I like to take my time and I like to explain concepts in detail, and I like to teach these concepts similar to you would learn any motor skill. Now, what do I mean by motor skill? A motor skill is a skill that you do with your hands, feet, your body. The reason I call recitation of the Quran as a motor skill is because it is a motor skill. And the motor skill involved, you have to learn to move your mouth, your nose, your throat, your chest, your tongue, your everything, your lips, in order to be able to recite the Quran effectively. And because this is a motor skill, the only way to master a motor skill is to do it repeatedly and to watch it in detail and basically do it in the exercise format that I have created. Warm up, exercise, knowledge, and lather, rinse, and repeat over and over again. And that's the way I created this channel. So after that initial discussion, we have another half hour. If there aren't any questions or comments, I will go offline a little bit earlier. But let's go to the comments. First, we have Lavan Brathwaite. Alhamdulillah, he said, Jazakallah khair for joining. I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly. My apologies. The fun says, Salam, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. And TK Danso says, Hi, assalamu alaikum. So let me just respond to everybody. Wa alaikum assalam, everyone. So after that initial disclosure, if you have any questions, any comments, if you have any suggestions, now is the time. And this time is for oh, by the way, Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. Inshallah, if you have any questions, any comments, now is the time. I am opening it up to you. Let's see what the comments say. There were a few comments and questions last night during the live stream. Tafqim Taqiq and Ahkam Nuna Sakina with Tanween, and I discussed about one of the ladies asked me the question, hey, because of the coronavirus, aren't you working from home? And I said, yes, I am working from home, but still my evenings aren't as free. You can ask my wife. I've been studying nonstop in the afternoons. Lol, you won, but wait, Fatima. Okay. I don't know what that means, but we don't have that many listeners at the moment. I'll leave it open for another 10 to 15 minutes. And for the sake of completeness, I will recite Surah Al-Fatiha. One thing that you should always recite before starting, and basically this is a tradition that every Quran teacher does with all their students. Whenever you're reciting the Quran, you should always start the recitation at the beginning, no matter how advanced you are. Including when I was in Medina and a sheikh was reciting to his sheikh. They were both reasonably old, both white beards. And when they started recitation, of course, they're both advanced students and learners, but they started with recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. And this is a tradition that we're not going to break from today. So let's begin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amin. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Assalamu alaikum. Where are you from? Complicated question. I am originally, if you were to go way back, my ancestors migrated from India to Pakistan during the partition, 1947. My dad was, I believe, born in Uttar Pradesh in India. And post-migration, my father settled in Karachi in Pakistan, and my mother settled in Lahore, Pakistan. Both my parents were babies when the migration happened. I was born in post-partition Pakistan, and I grew up in Pakistan. I was 16 years old when my parents decided to move to the United States. And I've been living in the United States ever since. I've lived in multiple states. So if you're asking me where I'm from, I was born in Pakistan. I was 16 when I came to the States. And ever since then, I have been living in the States. And that's why I speak fluent English. My higher education was all in English. So I hope that answers that question. Ruby Rose asked that question. Wa alaikum assalam, Ruby, and I hope that answers your question. Okay. Ronald Bell. What's the best way to teach my 8-year-old? Okay. This is a question that came up, I believe, a little bit yesterday, so I'm going to refer to something. The best way to teach youngsters is this book right here, Al-Qa'idah Nuraniyah. I have the free pages. Basically, I have a scan of pretty much every page of this book in my channel. If you just search under each YouTube video in which I cover the Qaida, I provide a link for the PDF for it as well. And if you go to any Islamic bookstore online or even your local bookstore, you will find Qaida Nuraniyah. The reason I recommend this book is actually genius. Why is this book genius? Each and every single one of these lessons in the Qaida, it starts from a very low and very basic level. So you know how children learn, especially when they go to kindergarten, what's the first thing they learn? They learn their ABCs. After they learn their ABCs, they move them to, phonetics and other things like that. And this is exactly how Qaida Nuraniyah proceeds. First, you learn just the letters. Then you learn letters in compound format. Then you start to learn diacritical marks, including fatha, dhamma, kasra, fathatan, dhammatan, kasratan, and then combination thereof, and then saghira letters, and then huruful mad, huruful lin, and things like that, and then combinations of those of all previous concepts. Basically, it's like a pyramid. He builds the base, and you slowly move up. This is the book I would recommend for anybody looking to teach their children how to recite the Quran. After you have covered Qaida Nuraniyah, everything you need to know in order to at least begin to recite the Quran is pretty much covered in this book. This book, I wouldn't recommend my channel for children. The reason I wouldn't recommend my channel for children is because, well, there's a lot of details, and it's specifically for adult learners, as you can tell. People who are not children are more likely to benefit from my channel. But if you want to teach your children, use this book, Qaida Nuraniyah. And that was a question from, what's the best way to teach, from Ronald Bell. Jazakallah khair for that question. You have one playlist stop at sun and moon letters. I think it's missing the rule of gunna and stop and pause rule and so on. Yes, you are correct. Like I said, there's a bunch of videos still missing from my channel, which includes the next set of videos that I was going to do, the start and stop rule, the gunna rules, especially the rules related to ahkam an-nun as-sakina wa tanween. What I was going to do, basically within the Quran, where and how to stop, how to catch your breath, how you should continue, etc. All those videos are still missing. And again, accept my apologies. After this live stream is over, you can watch and rewind the video and see why I haven't had a chance to maintain and keep up this channel. And that was a question from Tik Danto. So Jazakallah khair for that. TK Danso again. That playlist helped me a lot, and I want to thank you. May Allah reward you. Jazakallah khair for your kind words, and may Allah accept from all of us. Ramadan Mubarak to you. Okay. Ivan Fatima, or this person. I have a terrible problem pronunciation of slod, bod, and all the throat letters, and breathing at the 4 or 5 bears, holding the notes. This is why I have, with each and every video, before you begin the video, I make you, and I don't make it optional, to go back and do the warm-ups. What do I mean by the warm-ups? There, I believe either 10 or 11 warm-ups. I don't remember the exact number, in which I have you do the following repeatedly. And it sounds silly when you're starting with it. I do you the smile and pucker warm-up over and over again, 10 times. The start of the warm-up and the end of the warm-up, the smile and pucker warm-up. I think I call it the smile and pout, which is incorrect. Pout is not, it's pucker actually. The second among them is the warm-up, in which I ask you to say and while counting to 5 like this, or actually counting to 6, doing that 10 times. The purpose of that is there is mudud in the Quran that you have to hold for 6 counts. The reason you have to hold them for 6 counts are explained in the video in which I covered that mud. But without practicing that over and over and over and over again, you're not going to get that. And especially for people who Arabic is not their first language. Second, the letters slod, lod. Lod is probably the most difficult letter in the Arabic language. The reason lod is the most difficult letter is very difficult to pronounce and very difficult to explain where it comes from. I have I think 5, maybe 6 videos dedicated to nothing but the letters. The reason I've I think this 2 hours, maybe 4 hours worth of videos on nothing but letters. The reason I've expended so much time on letters is for the reason that mixing up letters is a major mistake. You can't say qalb versus qalb. Qalb is dog, qalb is heart. You can't make that mistake. You have to have the pronunciations of the letters perfect in order to make sure that you don't make major mistakes with the Quran. Because when you meant to say qalb and you accidentally say qalb, you just said dog instead of heart, and that's just incorrect. There are other places in the Quran where the meaning changes entirely. If you mix a letter, if you say sin instead of slod, or if you say tha instead of sa, or sa instead of tha, so on and so forth, those sounds and those letters, they make a huge difference. So, for your question, I have a lot of trouble. The only way that I know how to do that, because it's a motor skill, and with motor skills, the only way to develop motor skills is through repetition, doing it over and over again. Go watch the warm-up videos that I've posted in the channel, and the first time it's going to take you like 27 minutes because the video is almost a half hour long. I explain each warm-up in detail on how to do those warm-ups. After 2 or 3 times, you will memorize those warm-ups and do those warm-ups repeatedly. Every time you watch one of my videos, do those warm-ups, because that's the only way you're going to learn these letters. So I have no other way. And finally, obviously, I recommend this in each and every video of mine. My videos you should consider as supplemental material, not as your primary source. I'm not your primary source, because you cannot learn to recite the Quran sitting in front of your computer listening to a YouTube channel. Despite the fact that I'm running the YouTube channel, I'm recommending that's not how you learn. The way you learn it is you go to your local masjid, ask somebody who knows how to recite the Quran, and have them listen to you. No matter what, through this interaction, I can't hear you reciting, and I can't hear your mistakes. And if I can't hear your mistakes, I can't correct them. The only way to learn is for you to go to your local masjid and ask somebody who knows how to recite the Quran to correct your mistakes. That's how you're going to learn. So Jazakallah khair for that question. And okay. And TK Danso says also the difficult letters are wa. I need help with the letter wa. Now, if you, again, I recommend go back into the channel. There are 6 videos dedicated to nothing but letters. I give each letter, I tell you where and how the pronunciation comes from, where the makhraj is, where the exit is, where the sound comes from. Second, I describe to you what is close or closer in English to that letter. Wa has no English equivalent. The Z is close, but not quite. It's not the same. Wa and wa are difficult letters because they come from the oral cavity. I explained all of these in the channel videos on letters, so you can take a look at those. Just go to the channel and look for letters, which is the first, I believe, first 6 videos, section 1. It's all about letters and how to pronounce letters. Okay. Okay, that's the question from Levon or Ivan Braithwaite. So that was that question. Jazakallah khair for that. Next, I can almost, so this is from TK Danso. I can almost recognize every letter and their sign, but I have a hard time connecting their words. How can I improve that? Qaida Nuraniya. The reason I keep recommending this book is because that's exactly how this book proceeds, and that's the genius of Qaida Nuraniya. First page, very first page. I think it's appearing inverted. I don't know if you guys are seeing it inverted, because on my screen it's appearing inverted. Allahu A'lam, because it's appearing right to left when it should be appearing, or actually it's appearing left to right when it should be appearing right to left. The Qaida starts from the first letters, just how to pronounce them, and basically just recognizing the letters and what they look like. You can watch my supplemental video, the first 6 videos, the section 1, on how to recognize the letters, but then it goes into the second. And basically the second lesson is a very lengthy lesson. Let me show you. This is for the first page of the second lesson. And this is the second page of the second lesson. And there's a half a page of the second lesson right there. What the Qaida does is, first, it asks you to recognize letters in independent format, and then to recognize them in independent format, initial, medial, and final forms. There are 4 forms that letters take within the Arabic language: independent, initial, medial, and final. Those are the 4 forms. I go over that in a video in my channel, in one of my videos. So you can go watch that video. But if you want to learn, go from, you are now able to, basically you're becoming able to, or you're starting to be able to recognize letters, but now you want to be able to connect them. You want to be able to to be able to pronounce complete words. Progressing through Qaida Nuraniya is the best way to do it. What I have done through my channel is every exercise and every video that I create, part of that video I've created exercise videos using Qaida Nuraniya. And this is the genius of Qaida Nuraniya. It is a great supplemental book. So go through the channel, and basically the way that I've organized everything is as follows. Each section begins with beginner concepts and progresses slowly to slightly more difficult concepts. So if you go through section 1, you will be able to recognize and pronounce the letters. If you go through section 2, it will go through diacritical marks, and the diacritical marks will slowly start to show you how to connect letters to create words and to be able to pronounce. So go ahead, go through section 1 and section 2 in the channel, and I highly recommend Qaida Nuraniya. And number 3, take this Qaida to your local masjid and ask somebody to, listen and teach you. I can't recommend that enough. One of the benefits of the Quran is the people of the Quran. You get to interact with the people of the Quran. They're one of the greatest benefits of the Quran. So learning alone is great, but the greatest benefit comes from interaction with the people of the Quran. So I hope that answers that. Okay, I think I'm caught up on all the questions that people had. TK Danso. Okay, next question. How to know if Hamzatul Wasl, if I don't think without a sign. Huh? I don't think I understand the question, but I'll give you. There's a on Hamzatul Wasl, you will find a little sod on the Hamza. So let me see if I can find an example. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم من الناس. Okay. So إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم. Okay. It's actually that's a good example. Yes. Surat Al-Baqarah, which is the second surah right after Surah Al-Fatiha. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That's those are the first 2 verses. The beginning of the 3rd verse, that's the reason I wanted to use the Mus'haf, is because this is I just wanted to give you a direct example, the quickest example. And let me see if I can find an example in Surah Al-Fatiha. Oh yes, subhanallah, the very first letter in Surah Al-Fatiha is Hamzatul Wasl. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. There's a little sad on top of the Fatha. And by the way, I'm reading a Uthmani script. This is not the Majidi script or the Indian script, the Indian Pakistani script. I don't use that script, so I use the Uthmani script. I think in the Indian and Majidi script, I don't remember. The Hamzatul Wasl is not written with a little salt on top. The Hamzatul Wasl, or it's actually written with, the Hamza is written with a diacritic on top of it. So, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, the very first letter in Surah Al-Fatiha, the very first letter of the first verse in Surah Al-Fatiha is Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, that Hamza is written with a little salt on top. That's how you recognize that that's a Hamzatul Wasl. So I hope that answers your question. There's a tiny little slot on top of that Hamzatul Wasl. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. That's again those 2 Hamzas. Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman are both Hamzatul Wasls. There's a little slot on top of it. That's Hamzatul Wasl. Okay. Okay. How to know if Hamzatul Wasl is or without sign? So I don't quite understand the question. How to recognize if it's E or A? Oh, I think now I understand. Great question, TK Danso. Very nicely done. I now understand what question you're trying to ask. Whether it's Alhamdu or, for example, Ihdi. That's a good question. This is an advanced topic. First, currently, the way that I recognize it is because, I've become so used to it. But there is a rule. There is a rule describing, and it's a lengthy rule, and I haven't gotten around to it. because it's al. One thing you can pretty much know, it will never be ilhamdulillah, obviously, because the what's that called? The definite article. The definite article is always started from Hamzatul Wasl, and because the definite article is al, there will never be il. Obviously, if there is no kasra below the Hamza, it's alhamdulillah. But for example, iyaka, obviously it has a diacritic below it, but ihdi does not. That Hamzatul Wasl, ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, that diacritic does not has a kasra below it. So for me personally, the way I recognize it is, well, obviously through experience. I know which letters, but there is a detailed set of rules of which letters following Hamzatul Wasl will cause the Hamzatul Wasl to have a kasra below it. I have it written down, and inshallah, I will create a video for it, so that I owe you that answer. And Jazakallah khair for that question. It's a really good question. And no, I have not answered it in detail. So one thing I would recommend, go to your local masjid. The general rule, I'll give you the general rule. You have to look at the third letter, because there are exceptions to this rule. I cannot give you the perfect rule, but the general rule is the Hamzatul Wasl gets a kasra below it, especially if you have a sad, you don't know if it has a fatha or a kasra. The general rule to remember is look at the third letter. So for example, ihdina siratul mustaqim, right? It's Hamzatul Wasl and then a ha and then a dal. The dal has a kasra below it. You're looking at the dal. Hamzatul Wasl is the first, ha is the second, and the dal is the third letter. Look at the third letter. If the third letter has a kasra below it, in general, that's the general rule, the Hamzatul Wasl gets a kasra below it. So it's not ahdinas, it's obviously that's incorrect. It's ihdi. The reason it's ihdi is because the dal, which is the third letter, the Hamzatul Wasl obviously gets connected to a letter with a sukoon on it. So that second letter you have to skip. The third letter is, in this case, Hamzatul Wasl is the first, ha is the second, dal is the third. The dal, because it has a kasra below it, the Hamzatul Wasl gets a kasra below it. But there is, I believe, a one or two exceptions to this rule. So don't quote me because I don't have my notes in front of me. I am going to research this, create a video on Hamzatul Wasl, but I hope at least that gives you a starting point. And I recommend, again, go to your masjid and ask somebody. They should be able to direct you. Jazakallah khair for that question. I hope, TK Danso, that answers your question. So look at the third letter. Okay, Ruby Rose. Is our fatha our ra or ra? Read it as ra. Oh, okay. I believe the ra, I think the Ruby Rose is referring to the letter ra. Slightly advanced topic, and I will answer this. Give me 1 second. Okay. The Ruby Rose is asking the question. Is our fatha ra or ra? Because it's read as ra. Good question. The reason it's a good question is because the ra is one of the letters that is conditional upon tafkhim and tarqiq. What do I mean by that? There are letters of tafkhim and tarqiq that I have you memorize at the start of every lesson. So if you go back to each and every lesson, I have you memorize a set of letters. I have you memorize the 6 throat letters, hamza, ha, ain, ha, ain, kha. I have you memorize yarmalun. I have you memorize qutub jad. I have you memorize tafkhim and tarqiq letters as well. When those letters are conditional, etc. The lam and the ra and nun sakin are conditional upon the tafkhim and tarqiq. When they are heavy and when they are light depends. The question is about the letter ra, so I will address that. You have to look at the letter before it. If it's a ra sukoon, so good example is the word fir'aun. Fa kasra ra sukoon, fir, ain fatha wa sukoon aw. Fir'aun. Noon or noon sakin at the end. So you say ain fatha waw sukun and noon sukun. So you say Fir'aun. Now, the ra in Fir'aun, that ra is pronounced light. You don't say fir. That's incorrect. You say fir, fir, fir. The reason you say fir is because that ra sukun, the letter before it, it's immediately preceded by a letter that has a kasra below it, which is fa. Fa has a kasra below it, so the ra is pronounced light. You say Fir'aun. Fir'aun. But a good example of the ra being heavy, the condition being the ra being heavy, is the letter before it, the ra sukun, the letter before it has a fatha on it, then the ra becomes heavy. You say Ar-Rahman, ra, 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 as if your mouth is full of food. You as if like a opera singer. Your mouth is full, big. You go so Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman. But you do not say fill. That ra is light. Fir'aun, Fir'aun, Fir'aun. I hope that answers that question. Oh, okay. Ruby Rose. Good question. This is a mistake that non-Arabic speakers make. And this is the Ruby Rose, and I'll repeat the question. Like Rahman, Rahim. This is a mistake that non-native speakers of Arabic make. The ra, the letter ra, is not a lip letter. Its makhraj comes from your oral cavity. I believe the Arabic word is al-jawf. The reason it comes from the oral cavity is because you have to say it like that. Non-native speakers of Arabic, because they have a lot of trouble with throaty and these heavy letters, because it's coming from the oral cavity, you have to say it almost like an opera singer. Big mouth, big, as if your mouth is full of food. One of the ways that non-native Arabic speakers compensate, and this is incorrect, is that they turn the ra into ru. They do it like this. Rahman, Rahim, Rahim. One of the big mistakes that I've heard non-native speakers of Arabic making is calling Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. His name is Ibrahim, big mouth. They say his name as if they're saying Ibrahim. And any native speaker of Arabic, especially who knows tajweed, my teacher, I made this mistake a few years ago. And the first time I made this mistake, he caught it, despite the fact that he wasn't even watching me. He was listening to me over Skype. He said, it's not Ibrahim. Ibrahim is incorrect. It's Ibrahim. Ibrahim. Ibrahim is incorrect. Rahman, Rahim. The reason these are incorrect is because the letter ra comes from your oral cavity. You have to go But non-native speakers of Arabic, they compensate because it's very difficult to pronounce it from the oral cavity. They compensate by turning it into a lip letter. They do it like this: Ibrahim, Rahman, Rahman, Rahim, Rahim. That is incorrect. That is not correct. It's Rahman, Rahim, Ibrahim. I'm exaggerating the pronunciation a little bit, but I've heard it a lot from non-native Arabic speakers. I used to make this mistake before my teacher corrected it. He said, not a lip letter. Don't say Ibrahim. Say Ibrahim, Ibrahim. And that, I believe, answers your question. Jazakallah khair for that. That's a good question. Okay, next is Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Somebody named NJ. Oh, if you're from New Jersey, dialing in from New Jersey, my parents, they live in New Jersey. When I landed in the States, I landed in New Jersey. So, how to be a good listener? Is there any dua to be a good listener? I don't know of any specific dua to be a good listener. Inshallah, is a book I could recommend. This is a biography. Prayers of the Prophet. I can recommend this book. It's a tiny book. It's not very big, and it's in English. And these are masnoon, the different prayers that the Prophet ﷺ used to make. And there are a lot of them in here. I'm sure you can find a sunnah prayer for becoming a better listener. For becoming a better speaker, there is a dua in Surah Taha. It's directly from the Quran, which is رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِّسَانِي يَفْقَهُوا قَوْلِي. That is a terrific dua to make if you want to become a better speaker. For a better listener, I don't know of any particular dua. I recommend this book. You can probably find one or two prayers on how to do that. Jazakallah khair for that question. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. The fun salam, how are you? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I am doing very well. Jazakallah khair for asking. The fun, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, he's asking a question not related to the subject at hand. So I am not going to completely ignore it. I'm going to, what's the word? Kick the can down the line. I highly recommend you ask this question at your local masjid. The question is, are you allowed to watch anime like Dragon Ball Z during Ramadan? Problem with anime, I've seen some anime and I've seen it in the past. Some anime usually does contain a little bit of, well, let's say scantily clad women. So whether in Ramadan, whether outside of Ramadan, you're not supposed to watch that. However, if the anime itself does not contain any haram material, then there is no harm in doing it. But during Ramadan, try to maximize your time for prayer and other things like that. Inshallah, after Ramadan, you can go back to your, anime and other things like that. Ramadan is a once a year opportunity, and it's basically a once in a lifetime opportunity. You don't get this opportunity many times. So use as many hours that you have during Ramadan to, even if it's halal anime, even if it's good anime, you can watch it during Ramadan. I'm not going to give you a fatwa, but again, I recommend first asking this question to your local masjid, and second, understand the best way to spend your time during Ramadan is to do the dhikr, to learn, to recite the Quran, other things like that. Jazakallah for that question. Eagle, super. Ruby Rose, Jazakallah khair, your answer helped a lot. Wayakum. Okay, no problem. You are quite welcome. Next, TK Dancer. If you get enough time, can you read/recite Surat Al-Kahf without spelling, but read/recite slowly? I am not the best reciter. The best reciter for slow recitation, I can recommend to you right off the bat. His name is Sheikh Husari. Sheikh Husari. Let me see if I can find his recitation online. Sheikh Husari. His name is Sheikh Muhammad Khalil Al-Husari. Paste the name within the comments. His recitations are available online. You can go to YouTube or any recitation channel and you can find his entire recitation of the Quran, even Surat Al-Kahf. The reason I recommend him over other reciters like Mishari Rashid and Sudais and Shuraim and and others, his recitation is so slow and so methodic and so calculated that you can literally count the letters and the words while he's reciting. Slowly, so slowly, methodical, giving every letter its due, and so slowly. So if you want to listen to somebody recite the Quran slowly and methodically, I wouldn't recommend me. No. I recommend Sheikh Mahmoud Khalil Al-Husari, incredible reciter. Or if you want to, because he passed away a while ago, so he may not find high quality audio of his. You will find some decent quality audio I've seen, but if you don't find high quality audio, the second person I recommend is Sheikh Hudayfi. He believe I is currently in Medina. Hudayfi. Hudayfi. Oh, my mistake. Ali ibn Abdul Rahman al-Hudayfi is Hudayfi. That's how you pronounce it. So the Imam and Khatib al-Masjid al-Nabawi. I'll type that second name in there as well. Those are the two reciters I recommend, because even though Sudais, Shuraim, Mishari, and all these guys, they're other good reciter I highly recommend is Sheikh Jibril. Their recitation is beautiful and it's on point and it does not have any mistakes. But Sheikh Husari and Sheikh Hudayfi, their recitation is very, very, very slow and methodical. So for beginners, I highly recommend these two if you want to listen. So I hope that answers that question. So I'm not gonna be the one to recite the Quran. That recitation of the Quran and basically that job has been done by Sheikh Hudayfi and Sheikh Husari so good and so well that I can't possibly compare. So please listen to them, not me. The only reason I put those videos up is as a sample and to help you in your learning. If you want to listen to somebody, listen to those guys. Those are their champions. Okay. Thanks, man. Thank you, man. Well, just wayakum. Next, the fun. By the way, you were a good teacher. I learned a lot from your Arabic reading videos. Jazakallah khair. Wayakum. Jazakallah for your comments. Best Quran app you recommend out there, iOS. Oh, I don't use Quran apps. Within the channel itself. When I personally have to, I go to thequran.com, and the reason I like that is because it is in the Uthmani script. And basically you can listen to each word and excuse me. Let me see if I can give you Quran.com. Let's go to Quran.com and okay. Yes, this is it. You can start from Surah Al-Fatiha. The reason I recommend this website, I believe you can use this on your phone as well. The reason I recommend this website is, number one, it is in the Uthmani script, not in the Majidi script. Number two, each letter, each word is pronounced separately. And then third, each verse is pronounced separately. So you can follow along at your pace on this website. So I highly recommend this. I believe you can use it on your phone as well. So just open up Safari if it's iOS and just bookmark it and just keep going back to the site. So you don't need, but the reason I'm not recommending an iOS app is because I don't use them. So I don't have any recommendation for you. This is the website I would recommend if you're starting. All right, and okay. Next question. Incorrect application of tafkhim and tarqiq doesn't change the meaning. Is it a major mistake or a minor mistake? Sinful. Good question. There are certain, let me rephrase that. I'm not certain. I'm not sure. There might be places, because I'm not a native speaker of Arabic and I don't know every situation in which it might become a major or minor mistake. I know that in general, it is the case that if you incorrectly pronounce a letter heavy when it's supposed to be pronounced light, or if you pronounce a letter light when it's supposed to be pronounced heavy, in general, it is the case that it is lahnul khafi. It's a small mistake, minor mistake. It's not a major sinful mistake. The reason it's not a major mistake is because usually, typically, does not change the meaning if you don't give the letter its right of it being heavy or light, etc. If you incorrectly pronounce it. However, because I'm not a native speaker of Arabic, there might be instances where it might become lahnul jali, and if that's the case, I don't want to speak out of turn because I might be held to account for that. So do go to your local masjid and ask the question to somebody who does know, who is a native speaker of Arabic. And they might be able to point to you one or two instances where that's not the case. But I do know in general that's not the case. Doing tafkhim or incorrectly not doing tafkhim, not doing tarqiq when it's supposed to be done is not considered a major mistake. But do ask somebody who knows more, just in case it might be. Jazakallah khair for that question. Okay, and best Quran. Thanks, man. That mistakes in full. Okay, Sheikh Ayman Al Suwaid. Peace is recommending Sheikh Ayman Al Suwaid. I've never heard, so I would not know. If somebody listens to them, go ahead and listen to them. And if they're pronouncing fast, there are plenty of reciters who have beautiful voices, absolutely beautiful voices, so melodic that like it's as if it sounds better than like anything you've ever heard. But some of them they pronounce fast, and because they pronounce fast, it's difficult for beginners to keep up, which is why I'm recommending Hudayfi and Husali. So go ahead, Sheikh, check out Sheikh Iman Suwaid, as Peace is recommending. If he seems to be good, go ahead, listen to them. I'm not from New Jersey, actually. I am from India. Please pray for India and all the Muslims around the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all the difficulty of all the Muslims around the world easy. It's the month of Ramadan, and I also recommend all the listeners to make dua for the difficulty facing the Muslim Ummah and the difficulty facing the entire world in terms of this pandemic, this coronavirus. It's really causing a lot of difficulty and hardship all around the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. Ameen. Okay, next we have Dashi Guy. Assalamu alaikum, brother. My daughter and I listen to your videos all the time, and they're a great help. Thank you. No problem. Jazakallah khair for your comment. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. And I am glad that they're helpful. Okay, next. The fun. By the way, do you need to do wudu in order to read Quran from a phone, or to get the same rewards by reading Quran on your phone composed to reciting the Quran in real life? In order to recite the Quran, you don't need to do wudu. Even touching the mushaf is a recommendation, not wajib. It's not mandatory. It's highly, highly recommended. Highly, highly recommended that you don't touch the mushaf without, without having wudu. But in certain situations, and because obviously for a Muslim, the Quran really should be a daily thing, something that you do all the time. And if you put the condition of wudu and you're like, I don't want to make wudu, and it turns out because of that you don't end up picking up the mushaf, and because of that you don't end up reciting the Quran, that's something that's less than desirable. Which is why the most correct opinion, there are opinions out there that state that having wudu is absolutely mandatory. I don't follow that opinion. I don't believe that's correct. The reason that I don't believe that's correct is because anything that comes in the way of you and reciting the Quran should be avoided. Yes, it is highly recommended that you make wudu in order to recite the Quran, but I don't believe it's mandatory. So do recite the Quran whenever you can, with wudu. But if you don't have the opportunity, the least you can do is tayammum. The least you can do is tayammum. And the only thing you have to do with tayammum is take your hands, touch them to a dry surface. If there's any additional dust on your hands, just dust it off and touch your face like this, and touch your right hand like this, and then your left hand like this, and that's it. That's tayammum. So the least you can do, let's say, because I used to do this when I was traveling between my work, from work to home, I used to recite the Quran sometimes, but I don't have wudu. What do I do? Do I not, touch the phone, or do I not recite the Quran? No, I just sit in the bus, use the seat to do tayammum, and I just recite the Quran. Okay. Okay. It's the Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Oh, Jazakallah khair, but please don't call me Sheikh. You can call me brother. um, uh, please, can you do a Zoom call for learning the Quran? You guys really want me to do Zoom calls? This is one thing that I was hesitant to do. I didn't know how big the lecture, the channel was gonna be, and because there have been a lot of requests for personal one-on-one lessons, um, it would be difficult for me to ration my time amongst my students. If I do a Zoom session, again, my time might be better served doing the channel itself, and obviously I don't have enough time to do that. But maybe go ahead if you guys want me to do, I don't know, maybe once a week a Zoom class or something. Put it in the comments, or put it in this live channel, or put it in the comments. The more comments slash recommendations I get for that, or requests I get for that, it's just that A, I haven't gotten enough requests, and B, if I were to do that, it would be difficult to ration my time amongst my students. So that's that. Jazakallah khair for that. Jazakallah khair, Ustad. You're really good at explaining. Okay, Jazakallah khair for that. It's the Assalamu alaikum. Can you please do a Zoom call for WURSN? Quran. Yeah. So like I said, I would do a Zoom call. I have no problem with doing Zoom calls, personal Zoom calls. But inshallah, I need to go ahead, put it in the channel comments, and if it turns out a lot of people want it, then I'll try to do a Zoom call, inshallah. Okay. Ruby Rose. Fatima Begum, no, Quran. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Would you be willing to teach via Zoom? Okay, that's another request. Sure. I have taught via Zoom before. I've taught my family members. I've taught some people via Zoom. Let me find a website for you guys. I believe it is tajweed.com. No, that is incorrect. I went to some kind of Chinese website. But let me just make sure. I'm gonna find a website for you. Abu Hamza Hassan Hijji. It's ijaza.com, not tajweed.com. Ijaza.com. Yes. These are the guys. This is the website I recommend highly. Ijaza.com. The reason I recommend this website highly is because most of the teachers at least speak some level of English. So if you're struggling with, you're not able to speak Arabic, and most of the teachers you find online are Arabic speakers, the reason I recommend ijaza.com is a lot of their teachers are actually able to at least speak conversational English. And because they're at least able to speak conversational English, and because the channel is for English speakers, you can find a decent teacher for teaching Quran on ijaza.com. Second reason I highly recommend them. They're Egyptian teachers. And man, do Egyptian teachers know how to drill you. They will not let you get away with a single mistake when it comes to the Quran. And that's a good thing. You want a teacher that demands a lot of you. So you do want a teacher that is demanding, that it asks you to be the best at reciting the Quran. So I highly recommend ijaza.com. They will do one-on-one sessions with you. They will do one-on-one lessons with you. So inshallah, if you can do that, do ijaza.com. So I have a request to make a video, 99 names of Allah with pronunciation. I mean, you can find many videos online with the 99 names. If you go to YouTube, just say 99 names of Allah, and you will find beautifully done videos, a lot better than I can do. So go ahead, use those. And if the work has been done, the reason I started this channel, Lessons to Recite the Quran in English, it was because I was not finding a similar resource online. And because I did not find a similar resource online, so I said, okay, I might as well do it. So I did it. That's why I started this channel. But the 99 names of Allah, that's been done before and done very well before. So why don't you listen to that? Why don't you use that? That there's no need for me to reinvent the wheel if somebody has done it before and they've done it so well. So go ahead, YouTube it. Okay. Jazakallah khair for that. Next, this guy. Brother, we also listen. Qari Khalil Husari. Your site is a slow place. Help us understand. Yes, indeed. It is not the coronavirus. New Jersey says it's not the coronavirus that Muslims are afraid of in India. It's the type of propaganda that are spreading against Indian Muslims. I'll ask every Muslim to pray and make dua for all Muslims around the world. Jazakallah khair for that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy. The propaganda machine, especially, my wife and I were victims of the propaganda machine that spun up around 9/11. It just so happened that I was in the United States and in New Jersey on 9/11. And I still remember seeing the buildings smoking from my campus. I saw across the Manhattan, across the river. I saw Manhattan, and I saw where the planes hit and the buildings went down, etc. I was in New Jersey. I was barely less than 12, 13 miles from ground zero on the New Jersey side when it happened. So the propaganda machine that spun up after 9/11 to malign Islam and to malign Muslims was quite incredible, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect everyone. There was a lot of, a lot of people were unjustly imprisoned, sent to camps and things like that. Their visas revoked and things like that. It was quite sad. So may Allah make it easy for Indian Muslims. If there's propaganda being spun up around in India in regards to Islam and Muslims, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala find ease in this time of difficulty for all Muslims, regardless of where they are in the world. I mean, inshallah. TK Dancer. Thanks, man. Peace. Stay safe and bless you. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, Fatima Begum. I would appreciate for my daughters aged 8 years and 5 to 8 years. Okay. Okay, Fatima Begum. Yes, ijaza.com is paid, so you have to pay for their services, and it is one-on-one, meaning they will sit with you personally. Whoever you are, they will sit with you personally. So I would recommend that you use them. I would appreciate for my daughters 8 years and 5.5 or 8.5. I am not sure, but it says 5 to 8 years. I am not well versed in teaching children. I have a certified technical training degree, so I have been training and I've done training a lot in the past. But teaching children is a different skill than teaching adults. I probably could teach children. I've never done it, but I would recommend ijaza.com. They should be able to teach children a lot better than I can. Yeah, so go to ijaza.com. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair for the sharing of wa iyyakum. All right, I think that's it for today. It's been an hour, and jazakallah khair to everyone who came along on this live stream. The only purpose of this was I just wanted to give you guys a quick update why the channel had been offline for so long, and just make dua for me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me some free time so that I can dedicate back to this channel, so that my professional responsibilities get a little less, and inshallah we'll come back to this channel. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. Jazakallah khair, everyone. Inshallah, Ramadan Kareem. We'll see you until next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.